I don't want to contribute to my stepson's college fund. Well, okay then. This story is fresh. It is hot off the press. Front page news, baby. It came September 11th, 2025. My 39 male and my wife Emily, 38 female, have been married for 12 years. Emily has a son, James, 17, from a previous relationship with Dan. Em left Dan when she caught him cheating with a coworker. That'll do it. They shared 50-50 custody of James. I met Em about a year after he had left Dan. A year later, Dan married his affair partner, and Em and I got married soon after. James never really bonded to me. I admit that I tried a little too hard initially to get him to like me, but I backed off when I realized I was trying too hard and it was having the opposite impact. Over the years, we've built a tense acceptance of sorts, if that makes sense. Emily and I have 3 kids, 10 female, 7 male, and 4 male. James doesn't have a good relationship with them either. He bonds well with Dan's sons, but doesn't like spending too much time with our kids. He isn't mean to them, but just ignores them mostly. The eldest 2 now just avoid him when he is home. Emily and I both have well-paying jobs, and early on we decided that I would contribute 80% to our trio's college fund, and Emily would do 20% because she would contribute 100% to James's college fund. We didn't know if Dan was making any such arrangements on his end, but we thought that at least this way James would have something instead of nothing. Emily recently sat him down to talk to him about his college fund. He seemed happy with the financial help that he was going to get. He went off to Dan's for the weekend, and when he came back, he asked Emily about our kids' college funds. When he learned the amount was fairly higher than his, he was upset. When he asked about the disparity, Emily told him about our college fund setup. He was furious to know that I hadn't contributed to his college fund. He said that I was just pretending to play family with him all these years, and that I didn't really care about him and I was a heartless a-hole. Emily suggested that we could take some money out of our youngest's fund and give it to James, and that she would add it back over time. But she said that it's my call, that she won't pressurize me either way and would accept whatever I decided. Quite frankly, I don't want to do it. James idolizes his crappy father, even now that he knows he cheated on his mother. I could deal with his crappy behavior with me, but I never understood his attitude towards our kids. We even tried going to family therapy, but he refused to go because I wasn't his family. Now, when he needs money, suddenly I am family. I know I am perhaps being petty, but I don't want to give him the money. Am I the a-hole? But he did edit this post, and it says, I think some clarifications are in order. Number 1, I don't hate that James idolizes his father. I hate that he blames his mother for their family breaking up. When James was 13, he had heard from one of his older cousins on Dan's side what his father had done that led to Emily leaving. When he confronted her about it, she explained. We tried therapy, but that didn't happen. We'll explain later. Last year, he told his mother that he believed she was responsible, that instead of leaving Dan, she should have forgotten about what he did and continued to stay with him. Emily was expectedly shocked, but when she asked him if the situation was reversed and she had cheated on Dan and he left her, would then Dan be blamed for the family breaking up? He said no. That would definitely be her fault and made no further explanations. This was not as a result of an argument or heat of the moment statement. Ironically, this was a casual dinner table conversation. The other kids had to be excused from the table. Number 2, when Emily and I had gotten together and things were starting to look serious, she had wanted to take him to a child therapist who could help him adjust better to the changing situation around him. Since they shared 50-50 custody, Dan's consent was needed and he refused. When we were going to get married, we tried therapy. Dan said he got married before us and James had no issues. We were overreacting and that he didn't need therapy. When the above incident happened, when Emily was pregnant with our daughter, and most recently after last year's incident, this time we asked him directly. We thought if he agreed to family therapy, then we could speak to our lawyer and work around the custody arrangement since he was almost an adult. This was when he refused therapy, saying that I wasn't family. Number 3, For all those saying that I am treating a teenager like an adult and that I made him feel like the other and not one of us, we tried. When we both started earning well, we wanted to splurge on our kids during birthdays and holidays. James was never excluded. Whatever our kids got, he got too. In fact, as he got older, he got to pick what he wanted. For his 11th birthday, he wanted to go to Disney World. Both of Dan's kids were invited. His youngest son and my daughter are the same age. He went, she wasn't invited, we stayed home. Number 4. We started the college funds about a year after our daughter was born. Emily couldn't start one for James earlier since she was a stay-at-home mom and when she was with Dan. It took her a while to get back on her feet. She wasn't in a position to immediately start a college fund for him. What a lot of you pointed out is right. He has been short-changed. Emily will rectify that and make up the deficit he should get by the time he starts college. But that will still not make it as much as the remaining 3. We have decided to sit and have a chat with him this weekend about everything. Okay, let's check out the top comments so far. What are the parents of Reddit saying? I'm interested and I'm nosy. Someone commented, when he learned the amount was fairly higher than his, why would this even be something you shared with a child? OOP wrote back, I didn't share it. My wife did. James doesn't like interacting with me. James is 17. He's not a child anymore. Next comment. He has 2 parents to contribute to college. They can fund him. Sounds like Dan had better step up. OOP wrote back, I doubt that would happen. Dan has never been good at keeping a steady income flow, and his wife is a stay-at-home mom. They are desperately struggling to make ends meet, but I could make an educated guess to say that Dan has probably not saved up anything for his kids' college funds. Next comment. Is the amount your wife contributes to your kids more than she contributes for her son? OOP wrote, no, she contributed more to James's fund. That was the agreement. Since we had assumed that Dan wouldn't have done anything, we had decided that my wife would contribute more for James and I would do the same for our 3. Next comment. How old was he when he refused counseling? All of your posts so far imply this was happening since he was like 5 years old. Hardly old enough to be able to make that decision. So are you saying you tried therapy when he was much older and not when he was younger? I'm trying to understand how you and your wife could see that he was disassociating and not go talk to a judge to get therapy mandated. My point of view is that it should not have been left up to the 5 to 10-year-old to decide whether he wanted therapy or not, and if the dad refused, that should have been addressed in court. Or are you saying therapy was only considered years later? Because why would you think I meant custody now when I thought you were trying that when he was young? I'm sorry, I'm confused. I know you feel defensive, but you're an adult. As in your wife, you both did not do everything you could have done here. Again, I don't think you're the a-hole about the money, but it does sound like the ball was dropped to get him into therapy and keep him there to build a relationship with him. Definitely not all on you, but collectively, the adults in his life failed him. I hope he recognizes all you've tried to do for him, and I hope you figure out how to let go of the resentment you're carrying. I'm sure James can and has picked up on it his whole life. Poor kid, he got screwed here. It's no picnic for you either, but you did choose to be a stepdad. Damn. Well, he responded and said, when Emily and I started getting serious, she wanted to take James to a child therapist who could help him adjust better to the changing situation around him. But since Emily and Dan, the bio dad, shared 50-50 custody, if one parent refused, then we couldn't proceed. Unsurprisingly, Dan refused, not James. James was a toddler, not old enough to give consent. When we were about to get married, we tried for therapy again, and then Dan, who had gotten married to his affair partner a couple of months earlier, refused again, saying that James was fine with his marriage and there was no reason for him to not be fine with ours. He further insinuated that going to a therapist would make James feel like something was wrong with him when he was perfectly fine and we were just overreacting. When James found out about Dan cheating on his mother being the reason why they ended things, Dan said wanting to take James to therapy was Emily and I's way of brainwashing him instilling thoughts in his head about how evil his dad is. So yeah, he refused again. Therapy was denied. Reason? Dan said James was fine with his son, so therapy was not needed. We did speak to our lawyer to ask if we could still approach the court to say that Dan keeps refusing therapy and that it is most certainly hampering our relationship. Our lawyer said technically Dan was right. James wasn't showing the same level of detachment with his family that he was with ours. It could have tilted the custody arrangement in Dan's favor when he accused Emily of being the reason their family broke up. We offered therapy as an option again, but since James was 17 by now, we asked him, hoping if he agreed we could circumnavigate the need for Dan's consent since James was nearly an adult. James refused, saying I wasn't his family, so family therapy wasn't necessary. I haven't resented James since the day I met him. I don't exactly resent him now either. I am just tired of the whole situation. You guys already know. I feel like not qualified to offer advice here. And I have divorced parents and I had blended family my whole life, half brother, stepsister. I've experienced it from the child's point of view. But the financial and the role of being a step parent, I ain't got nothing to offer there. So I'm gonna need some of y'all to chime in, okay? And I'll see you there. You know I'm always in the comment section. Before we get to the next update, we're gonna hydrate. Cheers. Drink your water, it's good for you. Quite necessary. I've been putting and reapplying this lip gloss on this entire time, and I'm like, I feel like my mouth is on fire. And then I look at the lip gloss that I'm using, and it's like an extreme hot lip plumping gloss. I just grabbed it out of like my little lip gloss basket. Yeah, they're on fire. Do they look plumped? If they do, that's why. They're burning, so they should be. So the next update was September 14th. It has been an eye-opening weekend. Thanks to everyone who weighed in, even the aggressive ones. I knew what I was signing up for posting on Reddit. Before the update, a couple of clarifications because gaps in info turned into wild assumptions. When I said I came on a little too strong with James when we met, some of you pictured me grabbing a toddler by the neck and hissing, "Call me daddy." What a strange imagery I just had. No, I was nervous and I acted like an idiot and used an over-the-top baby voice because I had barely been around toddlers. Emily later said that I sounded like a circus clown on 2 cartons of Red Bull. Cringe? Absolutely. Malicious? No. Many called my wife an a-hole for sharing the college fund amounts for our kids. I showed her the post. She explained James came back from Dan's with questions when the fund started, how much, etc. With that out of the way, Emily, James, and I sat down for a conversation yesterday. James didn't want to talk to me, but I told him that if he expected me to even think about contributing to his college funds, then I've got loads of questions he needs to answer. It was an extremely long conversation and many revelations came to be. So I'm going to give a summary of the things we finally found out from James. Even before Emily and Dan had broken up, not divorced, they were never married, Dan had occasionally brought James to his affair partner's place. So James was familiar with affair partner. After the breakup, Dan immediately moved in with a affair partner. Emily was a stay-at-home mom until then, struggled initially to get back on her feet. Needless to say, James's home life with Emily was a little more chaotic than when he was at Dan and AP's. Emily hadn't told James that she had left his father since he had cheated on her. Telling that to a toddler wouldn't make any sense. But apparently in early days, Dan used to tell James that Emily would eventually come back to him. I think he may have been holding on to hope for reuniting with Emily. And that's where I came in. Dan told James that as long as I am around, I would not let Emily go back to Dan. When Dan married his affair partner, he told James that it was temporary. It was a way to make Emily jealous. When we got married, he told James it was my way of making it even more difficult for Emily to get back to their family. When James had found out from his cousin on his dad's side that his father had cheated on his mother, which was the reason for the breakup, when James had asked Emily about it, she had been open and honest about everything. When he confronted Dan about the same thing, he told James that Emily had left him for a long time and his loneliness made him miss her a lot, and so he found some comfort with AP. So the problem is Dan, okay? I think we have figured out the common denominator in all of the issues here. Emily's father had met with a car accident and she was with her parents for about 3 weeks to help them. And that is all the alone time that Dan could handle before he needed to dip his wick in something. But it was a reasonable enough explanation for James to absolve his father of all of his sins. When Emily got pregnant with our daughter, Dan told James, now that I have started pumping my spawn into his mother, exact words that James used, James's family was destroyed forever. He told James that Emily and I had been wanting to take him to therapy, which was actually a ruse. What we were really trying to do was take him to a doctor who would declare him a problem child, and then we would ship him off to boarding school, and that we would continue to play happy family without being bothered by him. Only Dan and his family were fighting to keep James with them. Oh my God. So this kid has been completely brainwashed this entire time. James admitted that he had hoped his detached behavior around my family and happy and joyous behavior around Dan's would convince Emily that my kids and I were evil and she would eventually leave us. But sadly, I kept knocking up his mom, making it harder for her to leave. Expectedly, Emily was beyond distraught to hear everything. To be honest, at the moment, I couldn't even wrap my head around it much either. I asked if Dan had a college fund saved up for him and his sons. James said AP's parents have set up a trust fund for Dan's sons, but that does not include James since he isn't their grandson. Dan has not saved up anything for anyone. I asked James why he suddenly thinks I should contribute to his fund when he has turned down every opportunity for us to be a family. He said he was actually okay with the amount that Emily initially told him about, but Dan made him realize that we were undercutting him, so he came back to demand more. I asked if I pay the money, will that make us a family? Even if he can't accept me as a step-parent, can we be friends? Can he be a little friendlier with my kids when he is around? He straight up said no. He said that after all these years, he knows me or my kids are not the evil beings his father made us seem. But he still feels that I am the reason his parents could not get back together, and for that, he will always hate me. And since my kids are, well, my kids, he's never going to like them either. And since now he knows that Emily isn't going to leave her family, he said his plan was once that he was off to college, he would cut off contact with all of us. He does plan to eventually get back in touch with his mother when he feels he is ready to forgive her for breaking up this family, but he can't do that right now. Emily and I have had a long and honest discussion. I have decided that I will not be making any contributions to James's college fund. Emily will continue the contribution that she has already been making and hand it over to him once he turns 18. We will no longer be pursuing family therapy with James. We will not try to change James's mind about going no contact with us after he goes off to college. We have done all that we can do. We're going to stop now. If James is happy with Dan's family, then we're happy for him. It's going to be hard for Emily, but even she has accepted that after James's recent revelations, she's having a hard time reconciling her little boy with this cynical teenager. We have both taken individual and couples therapy before, mainly due to the stress and anxiety that James's behavior used to put on us as a family. We are looking into starting again. Hopefully we'll be able to overcome it this time. I feel like because he's only 17, it's so hard to reason with him. Same way with me. I viewed my parents' divorce a certain way at 17 compared to me as an adult. I have a much better understanding about things when you're older. Oh, that must be so tricky. Let's check out the last top comment that was at the end of this post. Someone wrote, yikes, didn't think you were the a-hole even before this update, but this makes me sad. I wish you had asked him this question years ago. I'm surprised y'all didn't think of that. The one sentence where you said that James was fine with the money until he got home from his father's and then started asking questions. I knew his father was whispering things in his ear. OOP responded, we always knew that Dan was up to no good. Whenever we had tried to have conversations like this before, either he would throw a tantrum and not communicate, or he would just sit there like a stone and not say a word. And as I said before, therapy was repeatedly denied. He only entertained this conversation because of the money he is going to get from his mother and tolerated my presence because of the possibility of me contributing to his fund. This is really sad. I'm very curious to know what you guys think about this. I don't blame him for not contributing. I feel like how lucky is he to even have a college fund provided for him? A lot of kids don't get help financially when they go off to school. So like, should you not just be saying, thanks mom, thank you so much? It like boggles my mind that he's gonna take that college fund, go off to college and then not talk to them. Not talk to his mother who just provided that, but be fine with the father who hasn't provided any fund for him and also cheated on his mother. There's no reasoning, no. He's like set in his ways, brainwashed about the whole situation. He's gonna grow and learn as he gets older and mature, and he'll see it from a very different perspective, I'm sure. Hopefully. Just your friendly reminder, since so many of you have started following me on Instagram and we chat on there all the time. Yes, you can find me on socials. All my socials are linked in the description of every single video. And I also have a shorts channel where I upload all my reels and TikToks. It's called Life with Joss. It's also linked down below. It just messed with my algorithm of my long form content on this channel. So I started just posting them on like a random different page. So go follow. Let me know your thoughts. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.